Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me, the RSI Apollo Triage. Let's go ahead and take a look. Before we start the review, I have two things I want to show you. First, the sounds of this ship, a really quick sound test, and then I'm going to talk about a giveaway. Before we start this review, I'm running a giveaway for the Apollo Triage on my Discord. Down below is a link to the Discord. You just join and then you can enter the giveaway. There's no strings attached or anything. Just go ahead and enter. It's a great time, a great giveaway, and you do get bonuses if you're a YouTube member or Patreon member, allowing you to have a couple extra chances to win. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to another review. Today we're taking a look at the Robert Space Industries Apollo Triage. Thank you What124, Winwar42, Seraph Omega, and Archangel 8 for joining me on today's review so we can get the best shots possible for you. This ship here is $250 Warbond, or if you buy it in-game, it is $260 in-store credit. There is no in-game purchase price at this point, as it is brand new, and you should not expect that for a few months at least. This ship does have a 17-minute and 30-second claim time, or if you expedite it, it is 4 minutes and 22 seconds. A pretty decent claim time, but honestly, there's a lot of ships out there that are about the same size or bigger that have a little bit less time, so maybe we'll get an update on that sooner or later. This ship for the pilot does have an overall burst damage per second of 3,003. Now, if you can cut that in half just because there is a remote turret on top that operates slave to the pilot when there's nobody in the co-pilot seat, but you do have two size 4 CF447 rhinos for the pilot and then two size 3 M5A laser cannons for that remote turret. Now there's also 8 size 2 Ignite 2 missiles on this ship. This one, compared to the medevac, has less missiles, less armor or health at the current time, but is supposed to be faster and more maneuverable, which I think they kind of have these stats a little bit backwards, because right now this one is actually slower and not as maneuverable as the medevac. Now you also have 4 size 2 shield generators giving you 16,520 bubble shield, and you have a total health pool of 118,700 ship HP. Let's go ahead and take a look at the screen really quick just to see what that breakdown looks like. There is quite a bit of health thrown here, here, and here, but it honestly is still not terrible. This has more overall health than something like a Carrack, and is a little bit better or on point as a Terrapin, but this ship is huge. So there's a lot of concerns, because if you lose an engine, you could be in a lot of trouble. And these engine nacelles don't have the greatest amount of health pool, and same with the nose of the ship. So when you start losing crucial pieces, it could probably go down pretty quick. Something you want to keep an eye on and try not to get hit too much. Obviously, you're in a ship that's meant for medical gameplay. Now you do have a top SCM speed of 170 with a 345 forward boost, a 180 backwards boost, and a top nav speed of 1025. Your pitch yaw roll sits at 24, 24, 65 with a boosted 29, 29, 78. Its pitch yaw roll is not that great, but it's a big ship, so it's to be expected, and it's a medical craft, so you're not looking to go out there and do bounties or PvP or anything like that, because if you do, in this ship, you're probably not going to end out too well. Now, you do have 48 flares and 5 decoys, like typical across the board. I was hoping these ships, being medical in nature, would have more, but they're sitting at the average number for now. Also have 63 SCU of hydrogen fuel and 4.35 SCU of quantum fuel, and I'm going to say now about 10 more times just so you keep count, and don't forget to play a little game every time I do that, and it's a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of this ship, but before we do, this is how you enter it. You have a rear ramp, and right now it's a bit dark out, so I'll give you another look at this once the sun is up. But you do have a rear ramp here that is going to be the main access point for you, your doctors, and your patients. But if you are just looking for a crew access point, you would make your way to the front of the ship, where there is an elevator that you can use, and you can fit about 2 people on there. It's a little bit tight. You want to be very careful not to, run onto it or anything. But you would go ahead and just hit this button here, and when you call the elevator down, as you can see, it opens up the bottom of the floor first and then sends the elevator down, which is honestly really cool, and I will show you more of that here in a moment once we go inside. But first, I do have to take a look at the rest of the interior and explain how this ship works on the medical module side. So let's go in there and take a look. Now, as you walk up the ramp of this ship, you're going to notice something really strange, how you have this really big entrance, but then it turns into this little doorway, which is quite, obvious. And it's kind of a complaint that people have. They're like, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just keep this wide so you can put a vehicle through here or something? But the reason being is because if you close this up, it's going to close up behind me like, oh, this is scary. I'm stuck in a room here. But it is a docking collar. So this is made to dock with stations. As you can see, this exterior ring here is a station docking collar. And then this interior ring here is a ship docking collar. So you're supposed to be able to dock to stations and ships someday, because as a medical craft, you have to have an easy way to transfer from one to the other and not have to worry about landing at a pad that might be much further than a medical station. So let's go ahead and walk through this area here. Now, this would be where I would figure like a decontamination zone, that you'd have like jets or something spraying you, or some sort of laser system to make sure you're not bringing in something completely hazardous like some sort of plague or biohazard. But as of right now, nothing there. And then you make your way into what is famously called the triage area, which the last thing I did was a preview on the medevac, and I was like, why is this named triage? This is the medevac. But it actually is a triage room where you decide what patients need what care, and then they get taken to the specific module for that care, which is quite amazing. As you can see over here, they're taking care of somebody right now. So with that, this room here is where you're going to have a lot of your gurneys, a lot of your medical movement. You have a couple screens here, and then if you take a look as you kind of walk back, you have 2 doors. And as you can see on the ground, it says Cargo Bay 1, Cargo Bay 2. So when you walk through Cargo Bay 1's door here, you have an engineering terminal built by Aegis, and then you have yourself, I attached myself to it. You have yourself some components in each one of these rooms, so you can open that up and take a look. You have an armor locker, a weapons locker where you can store guns like this. This gun's too big. Well, you can actually place it there. I'm going to give that a shot here really quick. And let's see. That's the new gun right there, the Fresnel. So you have that, and then you have an area here to go ahead and place, not that. Nope, not that one. But you can place a med gun up here, and then the tractor beam down here. It's actually really cool. It allows you to store a multitude of weapons and gear that you need while you're out there being a medic. And then right here is a cargo floor. This cargo floor can fit 1 or 2 SCU containers because the doorway is all that can really fit too. Now, another complaint with this ship is that people are like, well, why doesn't this floor, which looks like it should, go straight down to the ground in an elevator style system? I've taken a look at the outside of this ship. I've taken a look at the interior of the ship. I even clipped the camera through a little bit. The landing gear is actually about a quarter of this right here, and then goes down, which makes it almost impossible for this to happen. But I did have an idea, and maybe this is something they can run with one day, but they could suicide door the outside here by allowing this area along the wall to open up in a suicide door fashion, so you can load it from the exterior from the ground. But that might be a lot of work to cut the ship here at the doorway and let that open up in a up-down down or a down up motion. That would be pretty cool though, but it doesn't do that. So let's go ahead and make our way to the other cargo room. And as you can see, this cargo room here, pretty much the same, a total of 32 SCU on the cargo grid. So 16 over here, 16 over there. It's pretty nice, good amount of cargo, another weapons locker, another armor locker, more components. So you can go ahead and open that up and take a look and see where everything's kind of sitting on this ship. And then you're going to have your medical modules, Bay 1, Bay 2. So here's where this ship has its big difference out there in the verse compared to a lot of ships. There's really not many ships out there that are about modules at this current time. So what these modules do allow you to pick what tier bed you want on this ship. You have tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. Let's go ahead and break down what each one of those do. The tier 3 beds, they can heal tier 3 injuries, nothing higher. Each tier 3 injury you patch up costs 5 med gel with a total of 200 med gel per bed. It's a lot of healing before you run dry. Now, here's the catch. If you want this bed to be a respawn point, it has to have at least 100 med gel in reserve. Anything below that cancels out respawns, but you can still use whatever's left for healing. Think of these as high capacity triage stations, but don't let them drop under the respawn threshold. Tier 3 is nice. It comes with 3 beds. Overall, you're looking at a total of 6 respawns per tier 3 module, 2 each bed, right? But then you have the tier 2 bed, which is like an intermediate care style bed. These handle tier 2 injuries and also tier 3, of course. Healing a tier 2 injury costs 10 med gel. Each bed has 400 med gel, so that's 40 tier 2 heals or 80 tier 3 heals, depending on who you're treating. Again, the same rule applies. If the bed dips under 100, it won't function as a respawn point anymore, but it's pretty nice having up to 4 respawns per bed, but you only get 2 beds in the tier 2 module. So that allows you to respawn 8 times per module. Now, if you're looking at the tier 1 bed, which is considered the critical care bed, this is the only thing in the ship that can treat tier 1 injury, the worst of the worst. Each tier 1 heal costs 20 med gel, and this bed carries 600 med gel total. That means it can respawn up to 6 times, or you can heal up to 30 tier 1 injuries, or a much larger number of tier 2 and tier 3 injuries. The big differences between the 3 as well is tier 3 has a respawn distance of up to 50 kilometers. Tier 2 is 8,000 kilometers, and tier 1 is a total of 750 million kilometers. So tier 1 can cover the whole system. Tier 2 and tier 3 is planetary and area of operation only. So that is something to consider on what you want to do. So with that, you can see what your options are. Tier 3, tier 2, or tier 1. There's a lot of good choices, and it depends on how you want to run your craft or whatever situation you're running to at the time. Now, let's go ahead and run through this tier 2 area really quick. As you can see, I have the 2 medical beds. It has a nice little set dress here where you can wash your hands, and then you have a nice little area to put your med gel canisters right on the wall, which is really nice. And then if you make your way towards the back, you have a nice little restroom for patients, and it also has this really nice accessibility rail on it, which is pretty cool. Then right here, you have a nice mirror, bathroom, everything just really nice in here for the patient to go ahead and take care of themselves. You also have a medical refrigerator. You have patient storage, one here and one here. On the tier 3, there's 2 on the wall here, and then one that would be over here on the tier 3. Now, if we make our way to the tier 1 operation room here, this one is not set dressed nearly enough, in my opinion. It's tier 1. This is where we're going to be doing all the hard work here on the ship if you have the module installed, but you do have some areas that are pretty nice looking. Another wall for med gel, a tier 1 med bed that's going to do the best and most amount of work here. And then if you make your way, another bathroom unit where you're going to take care of any sort of hygiene while you're on the ship as a patient. And then you have your refrigerator here, and of course another patient storage over here. So it's pretty nice, and they're taking care of a patient right now, making sure he's all healed up. And then we're going to make our way through the rest of the ship. Now, when you're walking down this hallway, you're going to notice something really different. You do have a really nice space roof here, which looks fantastic. It honestly gives you such a great view out there when you're traveling the stars, and I just love that. More windows, please. And when we make our way through this next door, you're going to see an area where you have more components on each side. You can go ahead and open that up, see there's some components over there. Open this one up, see that there's components over here. Once you make your way onto this portion of the ship, you have yourself a nice cockpit area for the crew. You have a little area that you can sit down and take care of any sort of, nourishment. You can sit down, eat, drink, have a good time. You have yourself a bed over here on the left, a bed over on the right. You have yourself a nice refrigerator area and kitchen area. And then if you open this door, the crew has their own restroom where they can go ahead and take care of things. But I tend to not want to stand in here for too long. I rather stay safe instead of dying. So go ahead and close this up. And that's just a long-term joke for Star Citizen to me. Bathrooms probably won't kill you now, but I'm just not going to take the chance. Now, when you are standing here on this area, this is where you're going to go down as the crew or come back up into the ship. You'd go ahead and send up the guardrails. referrals just like this, and then they can either decide to send it down or I can send it down for them by hitting the button, and they get encased and sent on down. It's really nice because it allows you protection for your crew while you're on here instead of them being, sucked right on out of their chair and, ripped into space, because that wouldn't be good. And then you can pull it on right back on up, and you're good to go. Your crew is back on board and ready. Now you do have the pilot seat, the passenger seat, crew storage right here above each bed, looking really nice. Too bad there's no like gun rack in here. There'd be a gun rack like right here on the side of the bed or something. That'd be pretty cool. Now the pilot does, like I said, have control over both set of guns when there's nobody in that co-pilot seat. So when you're in here just alone, you can control the guns or the emergency lights just by looking at the bottom left. Emergency lights on, emergency lights off, and then you can also get into the remote turret, which we'll go ahead and take a look at really quick. It's pretty nice. I like it. It's a very great view out of this turret. It looks really good, so I appreciate that. And then you have a nice new MFD layouts here for RSI on this ship. It looks really good. It has a really great view. And the co-pilot, for some reason, when they get in, they took control over all guns, even the bottom ones. I think that's a bug, but I'm sure that'll get fixed pretty quick. That is the RSI Apollo Triage. There's a lot going for this ship if you're looking for the medical gameplay, which honestly right now, it's a pretty hard field to really get into because a lot of the medical gameplay is just pulling out a med pen or pulling out a medical gun. I mean, if you need to heal a tear injury, you could just backspace, or if you have a med bed close, that's great, that's fantastic. But now med gel is a bigger concern. So overall, I think the ship is fantastic. I give this ship an 87 out of 100. It doesn't have all of its intended features like medical drones. One day we will have that. 87 out of 100. It is huge. It's a big ship. It has grown greatly in size, but it looks fantastic. Interior, outside. It has a good amount of firepower for being a medical ship. Its speed and maneuverability is to be expected due to the fact that its role is in the medical care business. And honestly, I think for what this ship is intended to do, it's going to do an amazing job. Let me know what you think of the Apollo down in the comments below. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. You all are truly amazing. Thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members. Oh, and by the way, there is a giveaway going on, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the Apollo Triage. Join my Discord and enter there. I had to pull them off YouTube for right now because there's been some bot activity that I don't like, and I don't want you guys getting scammed into anything. So join the Discord, enter the giveaway, and good luck. I'll see you all out there. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.